Hi, I'm Eva, and let's talk about the new keywords in MRC. MRC, or Mercurial Heart, is the 4th ever set for Grand Archive TCG, released on May 17th, 2024, alongside the 2 Recollection pre-constructed decks for Sylvie Slime Sovereign and Tristan Shadowdancer. Mercurial Heart continues Grand Archive's story in the industrial and resource-rich land of Azoth, a world of alchemy and automaton technology. It's the supplemental set to ALC, or Alchemical Revolution, and thankfully doesn't have as many or as complicated new mechanics as ALC did. There are 5 new keywords, 2 of which are based on mechanics already introduced in the game, and 3 of the new keywords are relevant to the champion Tristan and the assassin class. First of all, we now have the Debuff Counter, the opposite of a buff counter. For every debuff counter on a unit being an ally or a champion, it will now get -1 power and -1 life, as opposed to the buff counter, which gives +1 power and +1 life. Then, if a unit's life calculates out to 0 or below, that is what we call a dead unit. Now, what happens when a unit has both a debuff and a buff counter on it? The 2 counters will cancel each other out, and that unit will lose both counters. Say the opponent has an engineered slime with 3 buff counters on it, and I use Reprogram to give it 2 debuff counters. This interaction will then remove 2 buff counters and 2 debuff counters, leaving it with 1 buff counter in the end. Imbue is a new mechanic that presents an optional condition to be fulfilled while activating cards, usually being when you play them from your hand. Imbue will be written with a number next to it. For example, Surging Bolt, a fire card, has Imbue 3, then says, you may reserve all cards revealed as you activate this card. If at least 3 of them are fire element, this card becomes imbued. What this means is, as you are putting cards down into your memory to pay the reserve cost of playing this card, instead of face down, you'll flip all of those cards over for your opponent to see. Afterwards, those cards go into your memory face down as usual. Mini kind of keyword, anytime a card is revealed in Grand Archive, it is always just temporary. If it's meant to be private information, it goes back to being private as soon as you move on to the next action or change in the game state. Now that your card is imbued, it gains some sort of advantage for being so and stays imbued as long as it's on the field. This is a mechanic that will now reward you for playing many cards of the same element. Very interesting for deck building. Some important notes. Imbuing does not trigger the reveal card from memory mechanic found on many Luxem cards, because technically these cards are entering the memory zone already revealed. Secondly, it's possible for a card to have multiple instances of Imbue. Andronica Eternal Herald has Imbue 3. Then it can be paired with Gearstride Academy, which gives all of your wind allies Imbue 2. Imbue will only look at the instance with the lowest number, so now Andronica will imbue for 2 rather than 3. Though remember, it will only imbue once and not twice, and you still do need to reveal all 3 cards that you're paying for Andronica. Or whatever amount you're paying. Case in point, you're hit with Orb of Choking Fumes, which makes all of your cards cost 1 more to activate. You'll now need to show your opponent all 4 cards being paid, though it's only checking that at least 2 of them are win cards for the imbue. And lastly, if something that was imbued were to leave the field then come back, for example, Displace would banish target ally, then return it to the field rested. That object that returned is refreshed and doesn't remember that it was imbued. And you will not have an opportunity to imbue it again at that point because you're not paying any cards to activate it. The ability of Unblockable was essentially already introduced in the card Demon's Aim in the previous set Alchemical Revolution and has now become a keyword. Unblockable states, this unit's attacks can't be intercepted and ignores taunt. It references 2 older keywords, so let's go over those. When an ally has the intercept ability, it means whenever your champion is attacked while this ally is awake, you may redirect the target of that attack to this ally. And when an ally has taunt and is awake, it must be targeted for attacks over all other units. Unblockable will help your attacks hopefully hit wherever you want them to go, disregarding your opponent's defenses on the field. Take note though that there are still effects in the game very similar to Intercept and Taunt that are not affected by Unblockable. For instance, Cry for Help and Tristan Shadowdancer's ability allow you to redirect an attack targeting your champion to an ally instead. But because they don't use the keywords Intercept or Taunt, they are good to go against Unblockable. So far, Unblockable has only been found on cards of the advanced element Umbra. Similarly, Ambush is a keyword of an ability we already saw on Lurking Assailant from 2 sets ago in Fractured Crown. This is an assassin ability. A unit with Ambush may retaliate against attackers while not defending. This means that it is not currently the defending unit. In other words, it's not currently being attacked. Someone else is. When its friends are being targeted, this unit is going to jump in and smack that bully for them. The attack will not actually be redirected to the ambushing unit though. It itself won't receive any damage in this exchange. It just means that you have an extra chance to deal sneaky retaliation damage when being attacked. Of course, most of the time, to retaliate this unit does need to be awake, as resting is a cost to retaliate. Another keyword we're seeing on assassin cards is agility. Agility is written with a number next to it. Take Tristan's level 1 underhanded, which has agility 3. Return 3 cards from your memory to your hand at the beginning of the end phase. It is insanely good as it enables you to hold up cards for some fast speed plays even after passing your turn. Some things to keep in mind. The cards that return to your hand are not randomly chosen. You can select exactly what you want to pick up. It's also not optional, so if you're trying to leave cards in your memory for any reason, such as needing something to banish to level up, be careful of giving yourself unwanted agility. And if you find that you have less cards in your memory than the amount you're to pick up, just pick up as many as you can. On a technical level, the way agility works is that when the player receives agility, it creates a delayed trigger that will get added to the effect stack as soon as the end phase begins. The effect stack being the invisible zone where all activations, materializations, and triggered abilities go to be resolved. Anything that enters the effect stack creates opportunity to do things of fast speed in response. Finally, if you gain multiple instances of agility, they do not stack into one big instance. Having agility 3 and agility 3 does not become agility 6. Rather, they each generate separate triggers at your end phase that get added to the effect stack at the same time. In this case, you can decide in what order you'd like the 2 instances of agility to go off. Let's simulate then what would happen at the end phase. The 2 agility 3s I gained this turn will automatically enter the effect stack. They're the same number, so whatever order is fine here. I'll let the first agility 3 at the top of the stack resolve, letting me pick up 3 cards. Then, before the second agility resolves, I'm able to add something to the stack with a fast speed card or ability. So I'll choose to play Scout the Land, which is a fast card, putting down 2 cards to pay for it and drawing a card for its effect. Now we'll go to resolve the second agility 3 to pick 3 cards back up again. Oh boy. And that's it for the MRC keywords. Feel free to make any corrections or ask questions in the comments. I would also recommend the official Grand Archive Discord where people with better credentials probably are roaming the Rules Help channel all the time. Huge thank yous to Andrew, Foam, and Silidar, the lead game designer of Grand Archive, for checking over this video. Other places you can find me, I'm on a podcast called Talk GA where we talk about anything and everything Grand Archive. And my main channel is where I do singing covers. Thank you for watching, and a happy Mercurial McHarding to you all!